Begin today the Gemara on Daf Kuvav Amud Aleph, 12 lines down from the top of the Yamud. The Gemara continues speaking about Bilam that was mentioned here in the Mishnah, that he's one of the individuals that do not have a chelik lo'ilam haba. Okay, so the Gemara is touching all the psukim that it says there by Bilam and the Nevuah that Bilam said. Vayar es Kaini. So Bilam says he saw Kaini, Vayisa Mishalei. And he begins his mashal, he begins the Nevuah. So what did he see? Who's Kaini? So Amalei Bilam le Yisrai. Bilam says to Yisrai. Kaini refers to Yisrai. Kaini, lo hayisa imanu ba'isa eitza. Weren't you with us in the same time when we all planned how we can get rid of the Yidden, as the Gemara is going to bring when they were in Mitzrayim? And Pari saw the Yidden and he had three advisors, Bilam, Eiv, and Yisrai, that advised him. So Bilam is saying to Yisrai, weren't you with us in that same time, in that same plan? Miya Shivcha, who came and positioned you here, Eitzel Esani Eilam, amongst those that are the strongest ones in the world. And the Gemara is going to bring that this means that that the descendants of Yisrael were zeicha to be in the Sanhedrin, in the Beis Hamikdash. So there were three that advised Parei, and Elohim, Bilam, Eov, and Yisrael. Bilam Shiyatz, Bilam advised Parei to kill the Yidden, the Gzeir of Kol Ben Ayila, the Yoyde Tashlichuhu. So Nerag, he was eventually killed by the Yidden. Eov Sheshasak, Eov that was quiet, Nidden be Yisurin. He was punished with pain, suffering. And for Yisrael, Shabarach, and Yisrael that ran away, Zachu b'nei Banav, Leishev v'lishkas Agazis. So he merited that his descendants sit in the Lishkas Agazis and the Sanhedrin. Shanem, as the pasuk says, the Mishpach Seifrim, Mishpach of scribes, Yeshve Yavetz, they sat by Yavetz, which was a Chacham that taught them, and the names of the families were Taresim, Shemasim, Soichsim, Hema, Canaan. They are the Canaan, which is from the descendants of Yisrael, Habam, Mechamas, Avi Beis Rechov. They come from Hamas, which is the father of the family that was called Rechov. And who is this Kaini? So the Gemara says, the children from Kaini, the father-in-law of Moshe, come from Irat Marim. So there, here you see that his descendants sat in the Lishkas Agazis and the Sanhedrin. The Rebbe once spoke about this Gemara and a Purim Fabrengen, Purim Tavshel Lamed Aleph, this story here about Parei's three advisors. And the Rebbe basically explained that you may ask, Bilam, when he advised Parei, he just was doing his job. What's best for Parei? Why is he being punished for this? That was his position then. So the Rebbe explains that no, Bilam knew that if he's going to advise this to Parei, it's actually going to be bad for Parei. He wasn't being punished because he said something against Yidden. It's because he knew that if Parei is going to start up with Yidden, it'll be Parei's downfall. But because of his hatred to Yidden, he advises to Parei anyways. And then the Rebbe said about Eiv that was quiet. Why is he being punished for the fact that he was quiet? It wouldn't really help if he would speak up. Because if Yisrael ran away and Eiv is going to speak up, but Parei himself wants to kill the Yidden, so you have Parei and Bilam that are against him anyway. So what difference does it make if Eiv is going to speak up or not? So why is he being punished with Yisurim? Elamai, the Rebbe answers from here is a raya that when a person knows the truth and he sees what's right, he has to speak up and stick up for what's true. And he can't just be quiet and then everybody in the room thinks, he's quiet because he agrees to me. And you're making believe like you're playing both sides. That's why Eiv suffered from this. And Yisrael, on the other hand, when Yisrael ran away, so the Rebbe explains, why was it necessary for Yisrael to run away? If Yisrael be'emes felt that he has no power here, and that Parei, Bilam, they're both going to say that you have to kill the Yidden, and Yisrael is not going to be successful anyways in standing up against the Gzeiras. Why does he run away? So let him stay there, and he'll be able to say to himself, it's not my fault. Elamai, from here you see that if you're in a situation, even if you can't do anything about it, but you can't stay to be part of such a kind of plan. And Yisrael had to go, he ran away, he didn't want to have any part of this. That's the lessons that you'll learn here from these three advisors from Parei. Going back to what it says by Bilam, Vayisam Mishaloi, Vayomer, Oi mi yichya misumayel. This is his nevuah of Bilam. So what is this teaching? Omer Rab Shimon ben Lakish, Oi mi shemachaya atzmai b'shemel. That woe to the one that gives himself life by referring to himself as an Avodah Zarah, like Paroi and others that refer to themselves as an Avodah Zarah. Or another Pshat Rashi says is that when one in this world, someone that's machaya himself, he gives himself life and he enjoys the Olam Hazeh and he's peirik the oil of Torah, and then b'sayim when it's going to come the time when the Eibishter will place and give all those a chelik and Olam Haba and he won't be included, so then oi to such a person. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Oyla le'uma shetimtza b'shah shekadosh baruch hu oisa pidyon lebanav. Woe to this nation that will be there in the time when Hashem is coming to redeem the Yidden, and that nation is trying to prevent the Eibishter of redeeming the Yidden. That nation will suffer. And he gives an example. Mi matl ksusai ben lavi lilevia. Who would put his garment between the lion and the lioness when they cohabit? Same thing when the Eibishter comes to bring the Yidden back to unify with them. No nation should dare come in between. And if yes, oi to that nation. And the Nevuah of Bilam, it says, Vitzim, these large boats, miyad kittim, from the kittim will come. Amar Rav, so Rav said, Liboin Asper. The name of this place, Kittim, is Liboin Asper. And the Gemara, the pasuk there goes on to say that the Yidden are going to come on large boats, and V'inu Asher, V'inu Evel, which means that they're going to bring suffering to the Goyim that they were enslaved by. It's Ashur and Aver. Ad Ashur, so the Gemara says, till Ashur, Kotlin Miktul. That's where the Yidden will kill them. Mikan ve'elech, and from there on, and other Goyim as well, Mishabed Shibudi. They'll be Mishubed to the Yidden. Then in the end, after the whole nevuah of Bilam, so the pasuk says that Bilam turns to Balak and tells him, Hinini hoylech lami, I'm going back to my people. L'cha yatzcha, let me advise you, asher yaseh ha'am hazeh la'amcha. What will these people do to your people? Now, this pasuk is actually coming to say that Bilam advised Balak, as we'll see here in the continuation of the Gemara, the Avera of Baal Pa'er. He was telling him that I wasn't successful in giving Yidden a curse, but let me advise you what your people, meaning Balak, can do to the Yidden. So if that's the pshat of what this pasuk is referring to, if so, Amcha la'am hazeh mibayalei. So then the language of the pasuk should have been that Bilam was advising Balak what your people, Balak's people, can do to the Yidden. Why does it say Asher yasa am hazeh, what the Yidden will do to Balak's people? And says the Gemara, Amar Abba bar Kahana, ka'adam shemakal l'satzmai. This is like a person that is cursing himself, but he doesn't want to say the curse on himself, so therefore he says the curse on others. So over here as well, Bilam did not want to say an expression that should make it sound like that Balak and his people are in a lower position and they have to come and fight the Yidden. He wanted it to sound the opposite, that the Yidden are the ones that are in the lower position, and they have to seek advice of Bilam to come and fight against Balak, and therefore he uses this expression that the Yidden are going to find a way how to fight you, but really it's the other way around. That's one pshat. Another pshat Rashi says is that the Eibishter turns around what it says here, because in the end the pasuk is talking about the terrible thing that happened, that the nation of the Maya, Midian and Maya of Yidden, but the pasuk doesn't want to say it in that way, so therefore it says it the other way around, what Yidden are going to do to them. And here, as the Gemara here will bring the story, what happened, that Bilam advised them, the whole Avera of Baal Pa'er. Amar lahem, or Amar loy, but Bilam says to Balak, Alekeim shaleilu sayne zimahu. The Eibishter hates znus, immoral behavior. V'heim misavim, now here's what you should do. V'heim, the Yidden, misavim lekli pishton. They want to have fine linen garments. Marsha says that Yidden were accustomed to this from when they were in Mitzrayim. There was a lot of linen over there. Let me give you this advice. Aseilem kloim, in the marketplaces, make these curtains, and v'hoishiv bem zaynis, and there you should have zaynis. Zekenim b'bachotz, you have older women sitting on the outside in the marketplace, and v'yalda, and then the younger ones, the zaynis, are mibifnim, they'll be on the inside. And v'yimachrolem kli pishton, and they'll be selling these linen garments that you didn't want. Aseilem kloim mahar sheleg. Now build these, make these curtains from the area of Har Sheleg, which is in the Chermai, where there's a mountain of snow. Ad Beisa Yishimois, the Har Chermai is in the north, all the way down to Beisa Yishimois in the south, where the Yidden were camping then the Yidden are going to come here to the marketplaces. And v'hoishev b'hem zekeinos, zaynis that is, zekeinim mibachotz, and v'yaldim mibifnim. And you'll have the zaynis, but the zekena, older woman, will be on the outside. Yidden will come there. They won't look suspicious. But then the yaldas, the youngers, are on the inside. Yidden are eating and drinking, and they're happy. They go out to take a stroll in the marketplace. The older women sitting on the outside in the marketplace approach the Yidden and say, do you not want to buy any fine linen garments? And now this older woman gives him a regular price, but then V'yalda, the younger one that's sitting inside, offers him a lower price. And this happens 2 or 3 times. where the Yidden come and buy, and they end up going on the inside to the younger ones that are offering a cheaper price. And then once the Yid becomes familiar and comfortable there on the inside, so she says to him, Hariat keben bayis. Now you're already like one of us. Shev, sit, you can choose for yourself whatever you wish from what we're selling. And they had flasks of the wine from Amin that were there sitting with them. And va'adayin, now the Gemara here clarifies that they would offer wine to drink to the Yidden. And the wine from the Goyim was not yet asa to the Yidden. Either this means, the Rambam says that it means that this was really yayin nesach, which is asam and atayre, but the Yidden were not yet taught by Moshe Rabbeinu this halacha about yayin nesach, or it refers to yayin stam, yayin from Goyim, that chachamim were geyser in later generations that were asa, and it wasn't asa yet for the Yidden at that time. And therefore, Amra Loi, she says to the Yid, do you want to drink a cup of wine? Once he drank wine, bar bite, the Yetzer Hara became fired up in him. And Amalah Hashmili, and the Yidden would say to the girls that are inside there that have a relation with me. So then, she would take out her Avodah Zarah from her bosom, and Amar Loi, she would say to the Yid, Avoid Lazeh, you serve Avodah Zarah, and then I'll have a relation with you. Amar Allah, but Allah Yehudiyani, I'm a Yid. Amar Allah, so she says to him, what does it matter to you? This is the Avodah Zarah of the Baal Pa'or, that the way this Baal Pa'or is served is not like a regular Avodah Zarah that you bow to it, you give it honor. Adarab, the way it's served is by embarrassing act, by relieving oneself. And the Yid does this, and he doesn't even realize that this is the way this Avodah Zarah is worshipped. And but then the women, the girls, they went a step further. I won't allow you to leave. In other words, I won't fulfill your wish until you are a kaifer, you deny the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. Shenem, as the pasuk says, Heima bo, the Yidden came there, Baal Pa'or, v'yinazru l'baishes, and they were separated in their embarrassment, v'yushikutzim ba'avam, and they became disgusted with their love that they had for the Avodah Zarah there, and they despised the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. This is how they lured them into this Avodah Zarah and also to this nus. The pasuk says, "Vayeshev Yisrael b'Shittim." Where was this place? The Yidden was sitting in a place called Shittim. Rabbi Eliezer Shittim Shema. It's the name of the place. Rabbi Yeshua Aimer Shenis Asku b'Divrei Shtos. This is the name of the place, but there's a reason, because Yidden got involved in foolishness. But the Kren Olam l'Zivchei, they called the people to slaughter to their Avodah Zarah. Rabbi Eliezer says what it means when it says the word Vatikrena. Aruma is Pogoben. These Gaisha girls, they came out undressed, approaching the Yidden. That's how they lured them in. Rabbi Yeshua says, Shanasu Kulon Balikeri. And the term Vatikrena also means that all the Yidden, they caused the Yidden to become a Balkeri. Here, because the Gemara Darshan, the name Shittim, it also darshans another name that you find in the Torah, My Loshen Refidim. When it refers to the place that the Yidden were in, when Amalek came and fought with the Yidden, it says the Yidden were in Refidim. What is the meaning of the name Refidim? Rabbi Eliezer, similar to what he said before, Refidim Shemot, the name of the place. Rabbi Shua Sheripu Atzman B'Divrei Torah. Yidden were weak in their connection to Torah. Shanav, the pasuk says that Loi Hifnu Avais Albanim, the fathers don't turn to the children, Mirifyan Yadayim, because their hands are weakened. So you see the word Rifyan means Rifyan Yadayim. Going back to the story of what it says by Shittim, Amr Rabbi Yechanan. From there we learn out that Kol Makom Shenema Vayeshev. When the Torah uses the term Vayeshev, Enel Loshen Sa'ar. This is something that brings a painful story. Shenema, it says here, Vayeshev Yisrael Bashittim, Vayachal Ha'am Liznes Lob Neis Mayev. When it says Vayeshev here, then it ended up the story with this nus of Neis Mayev. And also says Vayeshev Yaakov Be'eretz Megure Yaviv, Be'eretz Canaan, and then it says the story Vayavi Yosef as the Basam Ra Alaviyim when Yosef was sold to Mitzrayim. And then V'nema it says Vayeshev Yisrael Be'eretz Goshen, we didn't war Mitzrayim and Eretz Goshen. And it says afterwards Vayikru Yimei Yisrael Lamas. That's when Yaakov passed away. And then in a pasuk it says that Vayeshev Yehuda V'Yisrael Betach Ishtach as Gafnai Vishtach as Teinasai. This is in Malachim where it speaks about the time of Shlomo Melech, that the Yidden sat confident with their vineyard and their fig tree. And then Vayakam Hashem Satan L'Shlomo Es Hadad Ho'adoimi Mizara HaMelech Hu Be'adim. Then started trouble with Yidden from Hadad Ho'adoimi. Okay, so the Mefarshim say that from here you see that a person is in this world. He's only here to serve the Eibishter. Neshama comes into the world to be active and to reconnect, to go back up not to become settled in this world and to become comfortable here in the world below. Therefore, when it says the term Vayeshev, when a person becomes too comfortable in this world, tzara, brings suffering. Obviously, there's different levels to it. There's the way it is by Yaakov. It says other drashas and that. But that's the nekuda about the negativity in the term Vayeshev. Going back to the story with Bilam, Ves Malchei Midyan, Hargo Achalaleim V'Gomer. Yidden then, went out to take revenge from the people of Midian because of the Aveda that they caused. It says in the Pasuk that they killed them on their dead bodies, as was Bilam ben Ba'or, Hargu B'Charev, and they killed Bilam ben Ba'or with a sword. So the question is, Bilam, my boyasam, what's Bilam doing there? Bilam left. When did he come back? Amar Rabbi Yechanan says, Rabbi Yechanan Shahalach, he went, Litol Schar, to get paid. Esrim Varba Elef Shehipol Mi Yisrael. For this that he gave this advice, which caused a plague that 24,000 Yidden died. So he came back to get paid for this. And then the Yidden found him and they killed him. This is what people say about Bilam that came back to get paid and he got killed instead. A camel is going to try to get himself a pair of horns. And udni dahavalek zizimire. Instead, he doesn't get any horns, but instead his ears get cut off. And that's what happened here with Bilam, wanted to get paid, but instead he got killed. There's Bilam ben Ba'or hakaisim. In Nach, in the pasuk in Yeshua, it refers to Bilam ben Ba'or as the kaisim. Kaisim means kishuf. That's what Bilam's power was. So the Gemara asked him this kaisim. Why is it referring to him just as a kaisim? Navihu. He was a prophet. Rabbi Yechanan says, Rabbi Yechanan betchila navi. In the beginning, he did have a power of nevuah. What a l'b'sayif, after what he did here, kaisim. He became only a kaisim. He had only the power of kishuf. Rav Papa said about this, Hained Amri Inchi. This is the expression people say that mezgani v'shilti, a wife of very prominent individuals, ministers and so on, Havoy, that's who you were. Eisen legavri nagri goes and is mizane with a person that's in a low place. A person, Rashi says, either a person that works in the boats with the ropes on the boats, or a person that's a carpenter and does dirty work. So a woman, instead of being in the right place where she belongs, goes and is mizane with a low place. And that's what happened over here with Bilam when he fell so low. The Gemara Darshan is the pasuk that we brought before. Hargu b'nei Yisrael b'chore. Actually, so no, this is the pasuk here actually in Yeshua. Different pasuk. It says by Yeshua that the Yidden killed him with the sword, El Chalaleim, to their dead bodies. So the Gemara Darshans, when it says here Chalaleim, that it actually all refers to Bilam himself that was killed, and it says a plural term of Chalaleim. So Amar Rav says Shekaimu boy arba mises. They killed Bilam with all four mises, which are skilis reifa, herek, v'chenek. Rashi says the way this was done is they hung him, and then they put a fire below his body to burn him, and his head, they cut off his head also, which is the head egg that fell off of his body, like the Indian of skila, which is primarily you throw the person down from a high place. So that was the four different mises that he got. That's Rashi's pshat. But the Marsha and others here say that according to Rashi's pshat, he didn't actually die from the four mises. He already died from the chenek. The other things that were done to him were after he died. Therefore, the Marsha says, the Yad Ramah here says that they actually killed him with all four mises literally. They had four people at the same time and killed him with all four mises together. Huh? That's another pshat. Rashi says that he was flying in the air, and here the Gemara says this pshat. There was a heretic that said to Rab Chanina, Mishmielach, did you ever hear Bilam bar Kamahava? When Bilam was killed, what was his age? Amalei, so he answered, Rab Chanina answered, Michtav leiksiv, it doesn't say in the pasuk what his age was. But Elo, however, midichsiv, from this that it says in Tilim, Anshi domim umirma, men of blood and deceit, lo yachtzu yemem, they don't live half of their life. So a person's life is 70 years. If so, I can say about Bilam that Batlasin the Tlashnin or Batlasin va'arba. He lived to the age of 33 or 34 maximum. So Amalei, this heretic said to Rab Chanina, Shapik Amrit, what you said is true. Because Lididi Chazili Pinkase de Bilam. I saw this diary of Bilam, or that was written about Bilam as well. It was written in this diary, that Bilam was 33 years old when Bilam, he's called Bilam Chagir, he was limping, and who killed him? Pinchas Lista, Pinchas the general, even though not necessarily Pinchas himself killed him, as Rashi here brings, but nevertheless Pinchas was the general in the army. That's what it said there, his age 33. Amalei Mar Bereder Ravina Lebrei, Mar Bereder Ravina says to his son, Bekulu leitafis lemidrash. And all of the ones that are mentioned in the Mishnah, whether the kings or the other individuals that don't have a chelik in Olam Haba, don't sit and expound and darshan so much about their embarrassment and about their negativity. Lebarmi bilam adosha. Besides Bilam, the Kama the Mashkechas Bey Dreishbe. As much as you can find to darshan and say about how low and despicable he is, you should darshan about this. That's the conclusion of the story and the details about Bilam. Now the Gemara turns to the next one that's mentioned in the Mishnah, the Hedyot that doesn't have a chelik l'olam haba, and this is Doeg. Doeg was an advisor of Shaul HaMelech, and the reason why he doesn't have a chelik l'olam haba was for two reasons. Number one, because he said Lashon Hara. This is when David HaMelech came to the city of Noiv with the Ir HaKayanim, and they gave him to eat. And Doeg went and reported to Shaul HaMelech that the people of Noiv Ir HaKayanim are rebelling against you and they're supporting David. So he said Lashon Hara. The other Aveda was that then Shaul wanted to kill all the people of the city of Noiv Ir HaKayanim, and Doeg was the one that agreed to do it, and Doeg is the one that killed the people of Noiv HaKayanim there. And that's why he has no chelik b'olam haba. Okay, so now the Gemara speaks about the story with Doeg. So Ksiv, the pasuk says Doeg. It refers to him as his name is Doeg. But Ksiv, other times it refers to him as Doeg, with the Vav Yud Yud instead of the Vav Aleph. The name Doeg means Hashem is sitting and worrying that this person could go out and do negative things. And then once it happened, and he said Lashon Hara, and he was a Ritzeach, he killed the people of Noiv Ir HaKayanim, Amar Vai Sheyatza. Then the Eibusha says Vai. That's the Vav Yud Yud in the name of Doeg, when it's spelled with the Vav Yud Yud in the middle of his name. The Gemara brings here a siman about different things that were said about Doeg. Siman Gibur v'Rasha v'Tzadik Chayal v'Sefer. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. So Rabbi Yitzchak says, what's the meaning of the pasuk? It says, until a mat halal bara hagibur chesed keil kol hayom. This refers to something Hashem says about Doeg. Amalei Kadosh Baruch Hu leDoeg. Loi gibur b'Torah. Aren't you very powerful in your learning of Torah? So mat halal bara. Why are you praising yourself with bad things? Which refers to the fact that you're saying over bad things. L'shal means you're speaking Lashon Hara. He spoke Lashon Hara about David and about the city of Noiv Ir HaKayanim. Loi chesed keil nati alecha kol hayom. Don't you have the chesed of Hashem that's upon you the entire day? Which refers to the fact that he's learning Torah. Torah is chesed al Hashaina. So why are you doing such terrible things? So we see from here, and as we'll see in the continuation of the Gemara, this Doeg was a very big Talmid Chacham. Rabbi Yitzchak said, Maidich Siv, another pasuk where it says until him, the Eibusha says to Doeg, why are you learning my Torah? When you come to the parsha which speaks about a murderer, or the parsha that speaks about someone that says Lashon Hara, what are you going to dash in there? If you yourself said Lashon Hara and you yourself are Ritzeach. Another pasuk it says until Vatisa Brisi Alei Picha. So Rabami said, Ein Torah shel Doeg ela misafa v'lachutz. This pasuk here is speaking about the Torah of Doeg when it says that he had the bris, which refers to Torah Alei Picha. It was just the words of Torah on his mouth. Why? Because the Torah he learned, he was a big Talmid Chacham, but it was all external, just in his mouth. It didn't penetrate his heart. Rabbi Yitzchak, another Rosh, Rabbi Yitzchak said, Ma'idich Siv, the pasuk says until him, V'yirot tzadikim. Vayiru tzadikim, that is, the tzadikim saw, vayiro, and they were afraid, va'olav yischaku, and then they laughed at him. What does this mean? B'tchila yiru. In the beginning, when they saw what Doeg was doing, it was a Talmid Chacham, and he did Avedis, they were afraid that people are going to learn from this. But when they saw his downfall, that he was killed, yischaku. And then they were happy that people see what happens to Doeg. Rabbi Yitzchak, another Rabbi Yitzchak darshan about Doeg. What's the meaning of the pasuk where it says, Chayil bala? He swallowed a big treasure or a lot of money, a lot of wealth, that is, v'yikiyanu, and then he spits it up mibitnei from his belly. Yerishanu keil. Hashem will bring to others to inherit this. So this is also a pasuk that refers to Doeg. Amar David lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Eibusha says, David that it says to the Eibusha, Ribono shel olam, Yomas Doeg, let Doeg die, and because of everything that he did against David HaMelech, and he was a murderer. Amaloi chayil bala v'yikiyanu. That I'm waiting for him to forget his Torah. That all the wealth of Torah that he absorbed in himself, he has to first forget the Torah, and then I could take his life. Hamalafana, David says to the Eibishter, Mi bitna yerishenu tail. Don't wait until he's going to forget his Torah. You, the Eibishter, should bring something that should cause him to take away the Torah from him, and others should inherit this, and he should die right away. Rabbi Yitzchak, another Rosh Rabbi Yitzchak said, what's the meaning of the pasuk where it says until him, Gam kel yitotzcha, the Eibishter will crush you lenetzach forever. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu David, the Eibishter says to David HaMelech, Neisi dayek la'amadasi. Dayek should have olam haba. Amar Lefana of David says to the Eibishter, Gam kel yitotzcha lenetzach. No, the Eibishter should crush you forever. Now, what's the meaning of the pasuk where it says there, in that pasuk, Yachtecha v'yisachacha me'oil v'shereshcha me'eretz chaim sela. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Eibishter says, Limdoi leimru shmaita be'midrashim mishmei. Let a halacha be said in the Bismedrash in the name of Dayik. Amar Lefanov, so David Melech says, no, Yachtecha v'yisachacha me'oil. You should be cut away, you should be forgotten from the tent, which refers to the tent of learning Torah. So now, Havilach benin rabbanon. Let him have children that will be Talmidei Chachamim. So David Melech says, no, v'shereshcha me'eretz chayim sela. He'll be uprooted completely from the life, from a land of life forever, including his descendants. Another thing Rabbi Yitzchak says, what's the meaning of the pasuk where it says, Aye Sefer, where is the Sefer, the scribe, Aye Shekel, where's the one that weighs? What does this mean? Aye Sefer is HaMigdalim, where is the one that counts the towers? As the Gemara is going to explain in a moment what these towers are. And Aye Sefer Kol Osi Sheb'Torah, where is the one that counts all the letters of the Torah? And he darshaned, he knew exactly all the words in the Torah, how it's written, as Rashi says, Chaseres, Yiseres, exactly every word. This all refers to Dayeg, that was such a big Talmid Chacham. And Aye Shekel means Sheshekel Kol Kalam V'Chamurim Sheb'Torah. He knows how to darshan a Kal V'Chaim and all the Kal V'Chaims of the Torah. So now the Gemara explains, Aye Sefer has some Migdalim. What does this mean? Shah Sefer, he counted Shloish Meis Halachis Psukais, 300 halachis b'migdal hapereach ba'aver, regarding this tower that's flying in the air. So Rashi has a few pshatim for this. Either it refers to the lamed that has that top part of the lamed which looks like a migdal, looks like it's flying in the air, and he darshaned about that. Another pshat Rashi says migdal hapereach ba'aver. These are halachis that says regarding the tumah that there is outside of Eretz Yisrael. When one goes inside a box or into a closed place outside of Eretz Yisrael, whether he's tamei or not, he darshan 300 halachas about this. Another pshat that Rashi says is this is referring literally to a tower that flies in the air. This is kishuf. That he knew 300 halachas relating to this kishuf, similar to what we had earlier in the Gemara regarding different things that you know in the halachas of kishuf. Or another pshat Rashi says refers to a Mishnah in Ohalis that speaks about these halachas of a migdal that is open outside, and what kind of a tumah there is inside of it there. You see over here how great Doeg was in his being a Talmid Chacham, that he knew 300 halachas regarding these things. So in connection to this, the Gemara says, Omar Rav, or Omar Rab Ami, Arba Meye Boi, 400 shilas, Boi Doeg v'Achiteifel. Doeg and Achiteifel asked regarding this that we just mentioned, B'Migdal Aperech Bab, regarding the halachas of this tower that flies in the air. And they couldn't answer it. Chad, even one of them could not be answered. Now, Doeg and Achiteifel, they didn't live exactly in the same time period. Doeg was an advisor by Shaul Melech. Achiteifel was later on. He was an advisor by David. So now Amar Rava says about this Rebuse Limi Boi. Is it a big deal that you can ask and be such a Talmid Chacham and ask all these questions? That's not a big deal. And he explains why not. Bishani de Rav Yehuda. In the years of Rav Yehuda was a Tana. Kulu Tanuye b'Nezikin. They, in that time, were all learning just the Meseidah Nezikin, the halachas of Dinei Mamonis and Seidah Nezikin. Va'anan kamasninan tuve b'oktzin. And we learn now even the Mishnayos of Masechta Uktzin, which discusses halachas of Tumah and Tare related to Uktzin. Now, v'chiavamater Rav Yehuda, in the time period of Rav Yehuda, where they only learned Nezikin, they did not know Uktzin well, when they would come to a Mishnah in Uktzin, where it says that Isha shekiveshes yerek b'kedera, a woman that's pickling the vegetables in a pot, and the shaila is regarding the stems, if it's mekabel tumah not, what kind of how we define these stems, and it becomes pickled, it becomes soft, or Amrillah, or another Mishnah over there where it teaches about zeisim shekavsham b'tarfein, when you have the olives, that you're pickling it together with the leaves, so to hide them, they're going to be tired, the leaves will get soft, So they're going to be tired. They don't usually, they're called a beis yad. Beis yad means that it's like a handle, something that you hold it with. But when these leaves or stems get soft, it doesn't have this halacha of beis yad. That's the halachas of uktzin. So when they would learn these mishnahs in the time of Rabbi Yehuda, Amad, they would say, Havayis the Rav Shmuel chazina hacha. We see these halachas here that are like these difficult halachas of Rav and Shmuel that are very hard for us to understand. Because they weren't Isaac in that mishnahs. They learned Nezikin. Va'anan, but us here today, by the time of Dal Mirayim, Rav is saying, in that time, Kamasnina ba'uktzin, we learn in the Mishnayos of Uktzin, Klas, Sari, Mesifta. We have 13 yeshivas that are learning Mesechta Uktzin and know it all very well. So, who's greater Talmidei Chachamim? In the time of Rav Yehuda, in the time of the Tanaim, or later on in the time of Rava, when there were 13 yeshivas learning only Mesechta Uktzin? Seemingly, they were much greater Talmidei Chachamim. But nevertheless, who was really learning Torah on a higher level? Rav Yehuda, in the time of Rav Yehuda, or by Rav Yehuda himself, Shalav Masane, when he just took off his shoe, when there was no rain, and he wanted to daven to the Eibishter, just take off his shoe, a sign of that he's causing himself a certain level of pain in order to bring rain, and immediately he took off his shoe, Vasa Mitra, and it began to rain. Va'anan, by us, tzavchina, and we daven and we shout out to Hashem, and v'leka the mashkachvan. And the Eibush doesn't listen to us. So that means that with that learning Torah was not at all on the same level as it was by the Tanaim, by Rabbi Yehuda. Elo, the Gemara concludes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu liba boy. When one learns Torah, it's not just the knowledge that you learn Torah, or like the Gemara said before, by Doyeg, min hasafa v'lachutz, that it's external, rather liba boy. The Eibush wants that it should penetrate the heart. Tichsev Hashem yireh lilevav, that the Eibush sees the heart. This is the famous expression of the Gemara, Chachmana liba boy. The Eibush wants the heart of the person when he learns Torah. Amar Misharshia. We mentioned before both Doeg and Achitofel, that they both learned and they had all these shilas. So these two individuals, Doeg and Achitofel, lo have a savri shmaita. They both could not understand the depths of their learning in Torah. But the Gemara asks, how could you say this? We said before that the pasuk in Yeshaya where it says Aye Seifa, Aye Sheikel, Aye Seifa Samigdalim, and we explained before that they knew the 300 halachas regarding even the most obscure things. And you're saying that they couldn't understand deeply the ideas of Torah. So the Gemara changes what it means to say is that what they said was not paskin according to their opinion, because the Chsiv, it says the secrets of Torah that you should be zeicha, that it should be paskin like you, is liyireya, for those that fear Hashem, and they didn't have proper Yiddish Hashem. Rabami said, Doeg didn't end up dying until he forgot his Torah. Shanem, it says, Hu Yamus be'ein Musa. He died when he did not have the Musar of Torah in him. Rav says, Nitztara. He became a Mitzayra. Shanema, the Pasuk says, Hitzmata kol zoyne mimeka. Now, this term hitzmata, it refers to Doeg, but what does it mean hitzmata? The Pasuk, when it speaks about a property that's sold forever, it says letzmisus, forever. The Targum says in the word letzmisus, lachalutin. The word chalutin. Now, what does the word chalutin mean? Utnan, the word chalutin is a term that's used by a mitzayre, because it says in the Mishnah, Ein be musgar o muchlet al pri o prima. The difference between a mitzayre that he's locked up for 7 days, or the mitzayre that's confirmed to be a mitzayre and he's sent out of the machne, they're both totally tamei. The only difference between them is whether he has to tear his clothing or leave his hair to grow long. So we see the term muchlat refers to a mitzayre. So here when it says hitzmata, it means that Doeg became a muchlat, a mitzayre. Simen, for the points the Gemara is going to say, is Shloisha, Ro, V'chatzi, V'karam. Rabbi Yechanan said, Shloisha, Malachi, Chabal, and Izdamru, Leila, Doeg. There were 3 malachim that came to hurt Doeg, that came to him at the same time. Echad, Sheshikach Talmudeh. One that made him forget his Torah. Ve'echad, Shesaraf Nishmasei. One burnt his neshama, killed him. Ve'echad, Sheshpizer, Afroi, Bebatik Nesiyas, or Bebatik Midrashes. And one spread his ashes in the Beis HaKnesses and Beis Medrash. Rabbi Yechanan said, Doeg v'Achitofel lo'roz. These two individuals, Doeg and Achitofel, they never saw one another. Doeg b'mei Shaul. Doeg was an advisor by Shaul, and Achitofel was b'mei David. Achitofel was an advisor by David. Achitofel also, he doesn't have a chelik l'olam haba. He later joined Avshalom and rebelled against David HaMelech. Rabbi Yechanan, Doeg v'Achitofel, both of them lechotzi yameim. They didn't live more than half of their life. Tanya Nami Hachi, we learned this in a Braisa, the pasuk the Gemara quoted before, Anchi Damim Mirma Layachzi Yemei, that a person that's for a man of blood and deceit do not live more than half of their life. Kol Shneisav Shal Doeg Lehaya L'Shloishim V'Arba. Doeg lived 34 years. Shal Achitofel Einan Ela Shloishim V'Shalish, and Achitofel only lived 33 years. V'Amar Rabbi Yechanan, And Rechanan also said regarding Achitophel, this is Betchila Kara David Achitophel Rabbi. In the beginning, David referred to Achitophel as his teacher. And then he refers to him as a colleague. And in the end, he refers to him only as a student. Betchila Kare Rabbi, as the pasuk says, Va'ata enosh ke'erki alufiu miyudoi. Alufi means my teacher. Then we see refers to him as a friend, as a colleague, as it says, Ashayachdov, together. Namtik side beveisel kim nahalach beragish. So together, as a colleague. Kare talmidoi, where it says, Gam ish loimi asher batachti boy. The man of Shalom that I was beteich in him, oichel lachmi, he eats from my bread, which means he learns from my Torah as a student. Higdil alai okev. And that is when he rebelled against David HaMelech. That was the downfall of Achitophel.